Hey everyone, finals are over, which means I'm back to reading books, and I'm currently reading Funny Story by Emily Henry. She released this book a year ago in April of 2024, and she recently released a new book, and I would love to go buy that book, but first I would like to read Funny Story. I'm currently about 70 pages in, and I really like it so far, so I'm going to be reading this book in this video and doing a review, so let's get into it. Okay, I'm about 100 pages in and I have my dog here, my special guest. So basically, a lot has happened in the first 100 pages. So there is Daphne and her fiance, Peter, and they moved to Michigan from Richmond, Virginia. And Peter's best friend is Petra, and she is dating this guy named Miles. So when they move back to Michigan, Peter realizes that he actually has feelings for Petra, which is his best friend, so he actually leaves his fiance when they had moved to a new house, and so she has nowhere to go, and Petra leaves her boyfriend Miles, and they end up leaving Michigan temporarily, and so Daphne has nowhere to go, and she sees Miles trying to figure all of this out, and he offers for her to stay in the spare room in his apartment while she tries to figure it all out. And it's just a lot going on. And then basically Peter and Petra decide to stay in Michigan and they are going to have their wedding very soon. And so kind of in spite of all of this, Miles and Daphne decide to act as though they're dating and they're going to go to the wedding. So they RSVP even though they don't plan on going, and they act as though they're going to go together just to kind of mess with Peter and Petra, and it is just such a fun plot. I think it's really funny, and it's interesting because Daphne wants to leave Michigan and wants to move to Maryland to be back with her mom, but she really loves her job in Michigan, and she's been planning a fundraiser that's going to be in mid-August. And so Miles kind of makes a bet with her, not really a bet, but an agreement that he's going to show her all of Michigan while she is still there. And if she still loves it, she's going to stay in Michigan. And if not, after the fundraiser she's been planning, she works for a library and works with children at the reading center. And so after that fundraiser, she'll go back to Maryland. So it's interesting to see how this all plays out. And I've never been to Michigan, but it's super fun. All the descriptions of the lake and the areas are just really interesting. And I really like the dialogue. I think it's really funny. I do think that Emily Henry does a good job with that, with explaining the different characters and how their dialogue is really funny, really interesting, and just really keeps me engaged with the book. So far it's definitely a rom-com kind of vibe, just a really unrealistic plot, but it is really funny and really interesting to follow. I'm interested in seeing what happens next. I just finished Funny Story, so here are my thoughts. I knew that this was going to be a romance book going into it, but the plot is obviously very different from the typical romance plot. However, I felt like Daphne and Miles' relationship, it was really sweet, but I felt like it was really quick. Like they realized that they liked each other really early on. And it was obvious that they both liked each other, but I thought the transition into their relationship was just very, very quick and also kind of confusing because it didn't seem to make a lot of sense, especially with the situation that they were both in. However, towards the end, there's an argument, there's a disagreement because of misconfusion, but they resolved that and they were able to live happily ever after. I will say though that Emily Henry did keep the plot very interesting, very exciting, because there were a lot of different people that kept showing up. So every time I thought I knew what was going to happen, there was always some sort of change. So it wasn't super predictable. Other than the fact that I knew they were going to end up together, the plot wasn't super predictable. Daphne's dad shows up, Miles' sister shows up too. So there's a lot of surprises and it's not super predictable. I will say that the attention to detail with the location, it takes place in northern Michigan and they do a lot of fun things like going to farmers markets, going to the lake, exploring the area, and I think that that's really sweet, and I really like the location that this book is set in. It makes me want to go travel to Michigan. The one thing that I really, really liked about this book that sets it apart from a lot of the romance books that I have read is that the main character, Daphne, although she does fall in love with Miles, she does start to realize that there were a lot of things that went wrong with her relationship with Peter, and what she learns from that, she plans to take into consideration in the future. So, for example, she built her life around her fiance. She moved to Michigan. All of her friends were Peter's friends. That was the guy she was engaged to. And she had a job based off of the location that she lived in. And when they broke up, she realized that most of her life, most of the people in her life were because of him. So she was thinking about moving back. She's waiting for this fundraiser to finish so that she can move back. However, when she's with Miles and he shows her around Michigan, she realizes that she wants to build her own life with her own friends and a career that she loves, focusing on what she is passionate about and not making it based off of someone that she is with. So when she is just on her own, she realizes this and she just starts to focus on building friendships with Ashley and with other people as well, which I think that's awesome. I think that's a really, really good moral of a romance story, that she doesn't just go from one relationship to the other, but she actually realizes what went wrong and how she can improve her life from what happened. And then when she does start dating Miles, she tells him, I'm going to live in my own apartment and I am going to just focus on my life. And she just seems to be really happy, and she starts focusing on all of her friendships, and she really does improve a lot within the story. So overall, even though it is a somewhat traditional romance book where you know that they're going to end up together, I think that storyline with the character learning so much about herself is just a really cool point, and I think that's why I like this book so much. So I will give the book 4 stars out of 5 stars. And I think that the ending is very funny when people are asking them how they met, how they know each other, and they say it's a funny story because of the untraditional beginning situation that they were both in. So overall, I gave it Funny Story 4 stars, and I would definitely recommend this to anyone who likes romance stories and funny stories that are just a light, good read. Thank you guys for watching, and that's the end of my book review.